Bernie's going to continue her tradition of transparency in local Lafayette government. It's Lafayette Live on KPEL.
Yes, and Lafayette City Parish Councilman William Theriot joining us on the line. Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thanks so much for joining us. All right, let's talk a little bit about this resolution for the council. This is something I've heard people talking about for a minimum of 2 years now, and they're always asking, why can't we do it this way? So the resolution would be to declare the policy of the Lafayette City Parish Council to call revenue-raising or tax elections only at the same time as a general election.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, why do you want to see this happen? I mean, I can think of several reasons people have brought up to us, but what really motivated you?
Well, first of all, like you mentioned, this has been going on, a lot of discussions about this for many, many years. We recently had a revenue-raising election here in Lafayette, I think in April, and I've spoken to a lot of people, got calls from a lot of people across Lafayette Parish, not just in my district, but in the city, unincorporated everywhere. And a lot of people were unaware of the election itself, and a lot of people who are involved, like you guys are and I am, and they didn't even know that there was an election to raise their taxes. So this has been going on for a long time, as you all know, and it happens many times on dates where people are either out of town, on vacation, or there's not a lot of turnout. Now, if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is a few snippets from this resolution just to give people an idea of what we're looking at. Is that basically it says transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility are priorities for Lafayette consolidated government. The practice of calling for revenue-raising or tax elections to be held on dates known to have low voter turnout is counterproductive in increasing public participation in elections. And as you know, elections are very costly, and according to Clerk of Court Louis Perret, a recent revenue-raising election in Lafayette Parish cost the taxpayers $120,000 with only 2.5% of the voters participating in the election.
I mean, it just blows my mind. $120,000. You know, we could have gathered as a community and gone over to the courthouse, and 120,000 of us could have stood out there with a $1 bill, thrown it on the lawn, and set them all on fire.
Hey, look, you bring up a great point. You guys were just stating news, which kind of segues into what this is doing, is that y'all just mentioned at the state level there was a poll taken that says 57% of the people are against raising taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and regardless of how people feel, it's just the logistics of it, too, and the common sense side of it, because people constantly argue that if they don't want something to happen or they do want something to happen, they'll do it in an April or in any other time that's not, next to or at the time, of a general election, so that they either can get something passed that they really want or get something dumped. And that's not the will of the people either. It's just not a good thing.
No, I agree. And to be honest, I have spoken to, like I said, numerous people across Lafayette Parish, and everyone that I've spoken to supports this, except for one person that I spoke to who actually was against this, but he was a professed liberal, and basically stated that any opportunity that's given to raise taxes, that there should be the ability to do so in whatever manner they can pass the tax. So, look, and I'm asking you guys, I'm asking your listeners to help me. I'm trying to think of ways, any kind of off-the-cuff questions that may come to us that I'm not aware of. We've been thinking of all kinds of responses and answers, and yet the same thing that I hear from everybody is that what would be the negative to this? Yeah. Who would oppose this and on what grounds? So if anybody's got any ideas, by all means, I would love to hear any answers or responses that your listeners have.
Let me ask you this. Some people may suggest that when you do this in a time of a general election, they have so much more on the plate that they may be thinking of. Maybe it's a year when we elect, sheriff and our city mayor president and then we have to worry about constitutional amendments maybe. People will say, well, the one argument I can see them making is, hey, let's do it in another time when the ballot is not so jammed up.
Well, I've heard that, but the other issue is when it's not so jammed up, you don't have as many voters.
Well, true.
Now, the second part of this is that the state themselves just shot this one out the water. See, I thought of this one and prepared for it. Because recently the state just made it. You know how we have elections where council members, city parish president, assessor, and all that's done?
Mm-hmm.
Recently the state just mandated that all school board members will be on the same election as all council members. So they're adding all that on a general election.
General election, too, yeah.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So we just shot that one out the water. There's no way. And plus, look, the people in Lafayette are smart enough to go in there for an extra 30 seconds and pull a lever to say yes or no. I don't buy into the argument that people are, once you get there to a polling station, you're going to take the extra, 10, 15, 30 seconds to do what you have to do in order to either support or not support a tax, I would think.
So let me ask you, I know you're not a psychic, you don't have a crystal ball, but how do you think people on the council are going to react to the resolution?
Well, I've spoken to a couple of council members, and they have shown interest in supporting it. So I think it's something that we definitely need to look at. And they were very interested in it, and they more or less agreed that this is 2.5% turnout for $120,000 is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And look, this says basically, transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility are priorities for LCG. As you know, the unincorporated especially, and budget right now is tight because of all revenues. And we're going to spend $120,000 on an election with 3,700 people.
Seems like it'd be kind of counterintuitive to trying to be good stewards of the people's money.
Well, and that's it. And the taxpayers are paying this. Now, another thing, and I don't know if a lot of your listeners probably know this also, but a good majority, I think it's 45 to 50% of all property taxes are paid by businesses. And with a downturn in Lafayette right now, businesses are struggling to survive.
Oh, they are. They are. We hear it all the time.
Yeah. So what are we going to do? We're going to continue raising taxes on businesses? Along with residents in Lafayette Parish, and don't forget, only those people who own property, if it's a property tax, pay the tax. So anyway, it's I felt as though, like I said, it's a common sense resolution, and I would love to hear someone's argument to why this should not pass.
Well, William Theriot has been our guest this morning. Is there a place where we're going to have the post about it. We'll have it listed as your resolution reads. Is there any other place you would want people to go, though, to take a look at what you're proposing here?
Well, you can go to the LCG website and look on the agenda for June the 7th, and that will be on the agenda and listed. And if they want to read the whole resolution, which is pretty basic, what you read and what I read, there was another snippet in here. This is, as you mentioned, a policy. We're trying to make it a policy of LCG, but we're also urging all other taxing authorities within Lafayette Parish to do the same in order to facilitate greater voter participation in the election process.
Okay.
So we can't mandate them, but we're strongly, or not strongly, but we're urging them to follow suit, basically.
All right. Well, William Theriot, sir, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it and being able to talk about it.
Well, guys, thanks much. Bernie, keep going.